Brian Cashman addressing those detractors holding court for 25 minutes. Not really saying a whole lot. We'll get to that.
That's not a good sign a month into the season. But, BT, let's start with the other team, the other baseball team in New York.
The Ducks?
No, the Mets. The Mets. Max Scherzer comes back from a 10-game suspension, game 2 of the doubleheader. And you're thinking, he needs to stabilize this. We can't go down. We can't get swept in the doubleheader by the Detroit Tigers. And Max Scherzer struggles. 75 pitches over 3 1/3 or 2/3 or whatever it was, and got banged around, gave up 7 runs. It felt like he was not the Max Scherzer that we are used to seeing. He had some interesting things to say after the game, which we'll get to at a point. But when you watched that game, they fought, right? The bats fought. They were energetic in game 1. They had a lead until Ottavino gave it up. But game 2 just felt like a massive letdown. It just felt like something that they lost control of. You're waiting for him to give you this oomph, and it's just not there. And when I think about this Mets rotation, Kodai Senga has been okay. Verlander's pitching today.
Yes, huge.
He better be amazing, because if he's not, then this Mets team is going nowhere. I'm looking at their record right now. They're 16-15, a game over. If they were in the American League East, they'd be in the basement with the Yankees. But because the National League East is also kind of about the same, they're only a couple games back, 5 games, I think, behind the Atlanta Braves. They're still there. But without an ace, this Mets team is not going anywhere. They're just not. They're not built to have mediocre pitching.
By the way, what team is?
True.
What team's going anywhere without an ace?
But think about the conversation we've had about the Yankees.
Yeah.
They're spending $277 million, and they're putting in this product. They have no depth. Guys get injured, and IKF and Bader crashed into each other last night. Some more injuries. Peraza had a knee thing. So injuries with all this big payroll, it's not doing anything for you. The Mets are worse. They got the biggest payroll in baseball, and they did it with a philosophy with aging pitching that you thought you could count on, and right now you can't count on it. This team can't go anywhere without an ace. No team can go anywhere without an ace. And we thought they had 2, and maybe Kodai Senga coming over from Japan would figure it out, and he'd be 2B or 1B, whatever it is, because there's two ahead of him.
Or 3. Just be 3. That's what you needed him to be.
And maybe
if
he
the
will
other
be
guys
that.
are doing their job.
He's not going to be your ace. And if Verlander is anything other than Cy Young caliber, this team is in serious trouble. They're not going anywhere without an ace. No team can.
Okay, I don't really disagree with that. I know that you said Verlander needs to be great today. I would slightly push back. Just be healthy, be functional, be decent. Yes, it will be a nice morale boost.
That's why I think they need something.
But he's 40, and you got to stretch him out. He's got to work his pitch. I mean, Justin Verlander's not going out and throwing 119 pitches today. Just give 5. Slightly 5+, 80-ish pitches, and show that you still have pretty good command and nasty stuff, and that would be good enough for me. You know what's crazy, though, about the Mets right now? Like, my big question about the Mets coming in was their bats.
Yes.
You know that.
Yes.
I have not loved this Mets lineup for a while. And here we are. You used the word or the term that they're showing some fight. They certainly showed it in the first game against Detroit. They showed it in the doubleheader last week, the first game against the Braves. Every time the Braves scored a couple of runs, the Mets would punch back. Now, they lost 9-8, but the Mets, to me, my bigger concern coming into the season, I don't know that it's been fully addressed, but it's actually better than I thought.
I think you're right.
And that's the offense.
Yes.
Alonso's banging. McNeil's right around 3 bills. Vogelback's been showing some signs.
Lindor had a big hit.
Yeah, he's still hitting 217.
It's not even about it.
But yes, Lindor's good.
In the moment in game 1 yesterday,
that's true.
He stepped up. He
100%.
did what he had to do.
I agree with that. You got to be fair.
That's all you can ask for. You got to be fair.
Beatty's hitting 310, 315, hitting lefties, hitting righties, hitting line drives. Alvarez showing some signs. It is the pitching. And let's just face it. Now, both of these teams were poorly constructed in the sense that you're leaning on guys who are either old or injury prone.
Well, you're also
You're
also leaning on hope. I hope that Max Scherzer still got it. And he hasn't had it for a minute now. going back into last season. Now, he was dealing with an injury, which we were aware of last season. He might be dealing with injury now.
Yeah,
but who
I think
knows?
that's an excuse.
It's
How's
not
he
an
hurt?
excuse.
What's bothering him?
I don't know. He's what he said.
He's got a bruised ego. Put him on the 10-day IL.
It's kind of what he said. They asked him about his spin rate, and he's like, 10-day off. You're coming back out of this injury. I mean, whatever it was. He didn't say suspension, but we know his layoff for his sticky stuff suspension. But he's also having some concerning advanced statistics, including barrel rate, which is at an all-time high.
Yeah, they're hitting him hard.
Over his career. Expected ERA against his fastball has always been slugging against his fastball has always been a little bit higher, right? But now he's relying more on his fastball and less on his cutter, and it's just getting smashed around. You don't realize he's given up 6 home runs already this year,
and he hasn't pitched a ton.
Right? You know how many 22 and 2/3 innings? You know how many home runs he gave up last year?
What was the exact number?
13.
Yeah, wow. Unlike Garrett Cole, who was giving up a lot last year.
But
it's got to flip.
Exactly. Max Scherzer's given up half the number of home runs in 22 and 2/3 that he gave up all of last season. And it's because he's relying on his fastball a little too much. And when I hear that, and then I hear these, the speculation about an injury, he's not throwing his cutter as much as he was, even though it's a nominal dip, but it's a significant dip.
Yeah, for sure.
When you calculate the at bats, 5% or so lower, and those 5% goes directly to the fastball.
To the fastball.
Which has lost a tick of velocity as well. It's concerning. I don't want to say he's shot. I'm not saying he's done. He's washed. I won't say that.
Oh, how do we know he's not?
Because I'm not. I haven't seen it enough yet. Give me.
He's looked pretty bad for a while.
Give me another
Go back
month.
to last year.
Give me another month, and I might say Scherzer's washed.
Yeah,
I gotta have.
He's earned that.
Exactly.
But to think that it's not very possible that he is. Just hoping.
I'm not willing to call it right now.
Not me neither.
I'm going to give him a month to figure it out because he's a fighter. He's the kind of player that I'd want to play with.
Yes,
right.
I agree with that.
No matter what's wrong, he's going to push. He's going to try to get through it. But the reality is, he's not an ace right now.
No, he's a detriment to the team right now.
Senga's not an ace right now.
Nope.
And Verlander, as you mentioned, is not stretched out and hasn't. This is his first pitching of the season, right? I know he had the minor league stint. He looked good, but whatever. He's got to be great, and that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy who just won the Cy Young, missed a lot of time because of a teres major injury in his shoulder, whatever the heck that thing is, and now he's got to come be the savior. This team was built on, I hope these guys hold up. I hope the bats start to come to life, which they have. You described it correctly. They're doing whatever. Pete Alonso could be the MVP this year, right? They're hitting. Beatty comes up. He's fantastic. Lindor, and when he in moments can be really good. But it's the pitching that's letting them down because they built it on the hope of an old, aging philosophy that's just not sitting with them well in the first month of the season.
All right, Teague. 877-337-6666. It's 10:10 on the Fan. Hopefully everybody's doing well. As always, we're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Friends of Town Fair remind you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. I'll tell you, like a proud papa, listening to my partner spit out all these advanced analytics and baseball terms. Oh, my God.
Dude, you turned me on to fan graphs, and I get in rabbit holes.
I love it. It's funny, though, because I've got numbers, and you almost beat me to it. So I'm going to dumb it down a little bit because you spit a few things at people. Barrel rate, and listen, most people know this, but I don't assume that everybody does. So you are right that his fastball has declined, and that's somewhat normal and natural for everybody, especially as you get older.
39 years old.
But let me just tell you what's happened. 94 on the fastball, 94.9, 94.7, 94.3, 94.1, and so far this year, 93.1. All right. What I find more interesting, and you also pointed this out, but I think I need to reassert this, he's thrown his fastball 50% of the time, which is the highest rate that he's had in 5 years. You said the cutter, he's actually thrown the slider a lot less this year. I think 5 or 6% less this year.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, not the cutter,
whatever
the slider. I got
is.
you. Yep, it is the slider, roughly 5%. That's certainly a big story. I really got to tell you, I think the bigger story is just the Mets in general. Like, the Mets have not been a huge piece of this show now for a good 8-9 days. They've had rainouts. They came back from the West Coast. We were at a good trip. They won 7 out of 10. We gave them respect for sure. They handled business out there. But Rangers, Devils, Knicks, Cavs, Knicks, Heat, the Yankee mess. The Mets have had some shielding, shall we
Yes,
say.
yes.
They've been able to not hide, but they have not really felt the shrapnel of what I think Met fans are going to bring today. They have lost 8 of 10. The Tigers are brutal. They stink. Now, you don't want to overreact to 2 games in early May, but, yeah, you piece together the things that we just touched on. They don't look particularly good.
They don't.
And the Braves are just a lot better.
They are a lot better, even though they're only 5 games in front of them. So sitting in second place.
I
in the
said 2 weeks ago the Mets are going to lose this division by at least 7.5. I would be willing today to push that to 10. The Braves are going to – now, they still might get a wild card, and I hope they do. The Braves are going to run away from the New York Mets.
Yeah.
So – how do you stabilize this? Certainly aesthetically and like from a morale point of view, yeah. Verlander comes out, puts up a ton of zeros today, even if it doesn't have great depth because he's got to work himself up, obviously. But just look a little bit like Verlander, I think Met fans say, all right, here we go. If Verlander gets rocked today, I think it's anarchy. Yeah. I think Met fans are terrified. Well, it's a big morale game for the Mets.
Yeah, we need something.
And their fans.
We need something to boost that hope. Because that's how the top of this rotation was built, and it's on hope. I hope that these 39 now 40-year-old former Cy Young, at least most immediate Cy Young with Verlander, aged pitchers in New York can hold up and do what you've done over the last couple of years. And right now, that hope is waning because Scherzer he's been a shell over going back in the last season.
Yeah.
And Verlander, we haven't seen in a Mets uniform yet. And so the hope is just waning. We need something to just inflate a little bit of that hope bubble with this Mets team. And I call it a bubble on purpose because it could easily get popped, right? If both of them go down, this Mets team is done.
Oh, I mean, honestly, even if one of them's not right, they're done. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
unless they traded for Ohtani midseason, that would obviously change.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. The only way to mitigate it is to go spend some money and a good amount of it at midseason
and
to
prospects,
get the pitching right. And
prospects, because you got to guarantee. I
don't
would be more prospects than money.
I'm not a Met fan, and I don't want to do that because Mauricio's crushing
Would you get him up?
I know Vientos has got 9 home runs and a 386 batting average, or 368 or whatever it is batting average in the minors. His OPS is 130 or 1,300 or something like that. It's ridiculous how good he's playing, but there's no room for him.
Well, there is if you tell somebody like Connor to take a hike, who's pretty much worthless at this point.
But then who you throwing in left field on a daily basis?
Mauricio.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that he can play left field.
Yeah, he's playing second base.
Dude, I know they pushed him there a little bit, obviously, with Lindor here for a while. He's not going to be playing short. If you can handle shortstop, you can handle left field. You just can.
IKF, except when you try to knock out Vader.
He's the one outlier. We'll get to them later. A little bit, because Cashman's. There was one question, by the way. Let me just give you with this, and we'll get to the calls about the Mets here. There was one question that absolutely, unequivocally needed to be asked of Brian Cashman yesterday, and it was not asked. And it's really just irresponsible, I think, by the New York media. Criminal how it wasn't asked. You gave him a pass. All right. Let's get Mike in Bayonne. What's happening, Mikey?
What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, after yesterday, I'm just disgusted. 2 points I want to bring up, guys. One about the lineup, one about the rotation. With this lineup, I understand they like Guillorme's glove, but at some point you're going to have to sacrifice your defense for some offense and get some of these kids up here and get Guillorme the hell out of here. Cohen's going to have to eat Vogelbach's contract to get this stiff out of the lineup. And Connor, I'm just so sick of these guys, Brandon. It's just between 7, 8, and 9 guys. It's just automatic outs every day, lackluster at bats, boring at bats. I just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And you look at this Braves lineup. These guys are raking.
It's not even close.
Brandon,
Mike, it's not even close.
It's absolutely. It's such a joke. And with the rotation, I don't want to put coaching on everything.
Yeah.
But if you look at the rotation, Hefner I think he's the only guy left over from the Rojas coaching staff. And if you ask me, you're going to have to take a look at Hefner because none of these guys are pitching deep into games. None of them are having their pitch counts are absolutely ridiculous going into the 4th, 5th inning. I mean, something they're going to have to take a look at something because if Verlander and Scherzer are not doing, if they're not doing their thing, this team is done. I don't know why they sent down now Peterson. He wasn't lighting it up.
Oh, he was awful.
But
Come on.
They sent him down.
He deserved it.
To bring up this stiff Lucchese.
No, come on. I mean, Peterson was awful this year.
Peterson was
come on,
awful,
Mike.
But, I mean, Lucchese is he's even worse.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I don't
he's
know.
not.
I got to disagree.
All right. I got you.
Look, he had a bad outing,
Thank
but
you, Mike.
I can't. I actually like Lucchese. I think he's.
Peterson's ERA is what, was 6 change?
Yeah.
Right? Hoff, it was that high? Is that Hoff? Is that what Hoff looks like? Is Hoff back? Hey, what a day for our boy to come back with all the Met issues. Hoff, how are you, buddy?
Well, I'm physically here.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm not. But
Okay.
no, actually, his ERA is higher. David Peterson's ERA was 7.34 when he went.
Oh, I thought it was 6 chains.
He's dog crap right now.
Yeah,
so.
and
Lucchese is the only Met starter who went 7 innings, and we're gonna dog on him.
No, we're not. I'm defending
I know
him.
you're not.
I
I know
hear
you're
you.
not. But we're gonna get calls like that. Please get it right before you call in, please.
Let's get Nick in Bethel, Connecticut. What's going on, Nick? How you doing, pal?
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for taking the call.
All right.
Talk a little Mets,
Yeah.
I've spoken to you a couple times in the past. Still not feeling good about them. One small tweak. It's a small thing, but having Jeff McNeil hitting 5th or 6th in the lineup makes no sense.
I can't
love
stand
the batting
it.
for a
Yeah.
while.
I hate it.
Where do you want him?
Second.
Second or third. I mean, does anyone with a brain knows the guy most likely to get on base?
Yes.
You want hitting before Alonso.
Agreed.
You want him to have the most at bats of anyone on the team, and it's not why we're losing, but it's. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath just ran upstairs, but
Yeah. No.
it's just so frustrating.
But Nick,
It's
and I think when you look at the
Thank you, Nick.
continued evolution of Brett Beatty, who's hitting 311 right now. He's second on the team in OPS at 856.
That's my guy.
Yep, he's got a couple of home runs, but he's consistently putting bat on ball. He's got a few doubles as well. So I mean, he's a good hitter, and not that he's terrifying you as a pitcher behind Pete Alonso, but he might.
He's about Beatty still.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
in
No,
time-
Beatty's
in
going to
time-
be. Beatty, I think, is the 3-hitter in 2 years. That's how good I think Brett Beatty's going to be.
So there's ways to reconfigure
Yeah.
this lineup, the position players.
But
the
that's not the
batting
biggest
order.
problem.
Right now,
I don't
it's not.
see it.
It's the pitching is the biggest problem.
Yes.
It's not even a question.
Yeah.
Right? They were able to manufacture runs. And game 1 yesterday could have got away from them, and that could have been 15-2, right? Just a lackadaisical.
Like the Yankee Rangers game the other night.
It felt like it was heading that way, and then they fought back.
Yeah.
Right? They got some runs on the board, and they took the lead, and if not for Ottavino blowing it, they maybe stole that game after a tough start, and then the second game was just bad. It felt like they were depressed. It really did. There was no energy in game 2 of that doubleheader against the Tigers.
All right, Met fans, what is your level of fear that the early part of this season, at least the last 10 games or so, West Coast trip was good, but the latest snapshot is a foreshadow of what awaits. I mean, Scherzer's getting dented. There's just no way around it. And, bullpen's getting used. They're going to have their arms going to be sagging by July. Problems, no question. Absolute issues. 877-337-6666. We'll get to that. More. Also, Brian Cashman, that press conference, if you want to call it whatever, in dugout interview was, I thought it was pretty embarrassing. Not even from his part. Something else that really bothered me, which I will get to a little later. But right now, we're talking about your Mets, and we'll get to your calls next on The Fan.